If Rock breathing, she hustled. Should have took her out back in the day. Never too late for that, though.
Ronnie is that character who doesn't even need to say much, but there is an aura about him. He makes Unique feel uncomfortable. The way he just stood there at the end and stared at Kanan and Famous made them feel uncomfortable. And us as the audience, I think we all found it just as creepy. Michael Myers was a little bit of the movement and inspiration for sure. That's a weird walk, and I had to have it. That was something Grantham Coleman teased prior to season 3, and I think he's nailed his character without even saying too much. The way he just sat there watching TV eating his Cheerios, as Kanan's narration told us he's that guy you stay away from. The story that we heard about him staring at the TV in the middle of the night, but how the TV wasn't on. The way he locked in on the bouncer after he disrespected him. And the moment in the gym with Unique. You got a sense when his brother went down to bench, at one point, you thought Ronnie would push the bar down and choke his brother out. That's what it seemed like from the camera angle, because who knows what Ronnie's thinking. Every one of these moments are creepy, intimidating and scary, especially when he doesn't get his way or someone disrespects him. Now in this video, we will be dissecting Ronnie's character psych down in a bit more detail, his relationship with his brother Unique, but how there are a few parallels to the older Kanan, and why I think Ronnie could mentor him. We're also going to run through a theory or two which goes back to Kanan ending this woman for no reason, because now when you look back at it, this is some shit that Ronnie would do. So we're going to get into some connections and parallels for Ronnie Mathis in Raising Kanan, Season 3. Ronnie was first mentioned in the very first episode of Raising Kanan, when Rock said that Ronnie would never have bucked off in the air like Unique did outside Lamont's diner. We found out he was spending the rest of his life upstate, but even as early as Season 1, Episode 1, we knew at some point if it did serve the storyline, then they would find a way to bring Ronnie home, just to spice things up with Unique, Rock and Kanan. He was the original leader of Unique's operation, with Dean being his original supplier. He made deals with High Post in regards to particular blocks and territory, but territory that Rock started to plant a flag on when Ronnie went inside. Fast forward to Season 3, and after a lot of beef between Unique and Rock, they now find themselves involved in a romantic relationship, but complicated by Ronnie's release. He was one of the 10 prisoners that was released following Ralph Sacristano's fallout, with a further 3 being released, another point I'll come back round to later on. But just like the older Kanan's narration warned us, Ronnie's that guy you stay away from in the streets.
Ronnie, Unique big brother. You know the around the way everybody avoid and steer clear of because he's so wild and fucked up.
I think maybe everybody has a Ronnie that they grew up with or was in their family. Like, you know, you love them, but you don't love that he's there. You might not love that he's back from wherever he came from. You definitely don't want to be left in the cookout with just him. He also said that he's excited, showing his brothers are definitely on the same side. But the problems that can come up when you involve business with family, and especially when you deal with someone who is built like how Ronnie is, which is just not somebody who's willing to listen to anything other than what he thinks. So this brings me on to the conflict with his brother. You can definitely tell they're building tension between both of them, because it starts off with Unique and Panessa feeling very uncomfortable now that he's back home. He's sitting there on the dinner table, he's quiet, but observant, and he didn't appreciate Unique lying to him about the bloodstain on his jacket. So this look between Unique and Panessa, I think said it all. Unique definitely has love for his brother, but I don't think he's necessarily happy that he's back. There's this interesting work-home life balance that's going on with Ronnie being back in the picture. I think Unique is excited about it until he learns that his big brother isn't proud of what he's done with the business, and he can't seem to register that times have changed, and Unique has done the best he could. So I think while dealing with that pressure, and also trying to get back on top of his game, Unique definitely has a lot on his plate. So the car ride gave us an indication that Ronnie likes to do things his way, and he made it clear he wasn't happy with what Unique's done. He gave him the keys to the kingdom, and he was expecting it to be the same if not bigger when he got out. But here's where I do agree with Unique. Times have changed, and if you don't change with the times, then you're just going to be left behind. Unfortunately, Ronnie is old school. He likes things a certain way, and if he doesn't get what he wants or feels disrespected, then he isn't afraid to use brute force as a resolution. He also started stirring up trouble between Panessa and Unique.
Maybe he got himself a side piece. Maybe that's where he at.
Ronnie knew straight away that he was keeping secrets, and since episode 1, he's just been feeling his brother out. That's why he said that they should have taken out Rock back in the day. He wanted to see how Unique would respond, but the minute he didn't, he knew. So him seeing Unique coming out of Rock's place just confirmed his suspicions, but now it's about what does he do with that information, how does he play it. We've seen him stir the pot, we've seen him observing his baby brother's moves, we've seen him deal with the bouncer that disrespected him, and he now knows about Unique's relationship with Rock, so what's next?
Why are we up and running? Making this money yet? While you take your minute, Rocky not fucking lunch.
I do think Ronnie's patience has begun to wear thin when it comes to Unique taking a minute to get his operation back up and running. We know that he met Kwan in episode 3, but Ronnie doesn't strike me as the guy who's happy to be taking orders from his brother or run his organization out of a Chinese restaurant. So we're gonna see Ronnie approaching Dean in episode 4, and no doubt making a move behind Unique's back to try and get things up and running, just how they used to be back in the day when he was in charge. However, just like Unique said, things have changed, and so has their business relationship with Dean.
I will run your ass into the fucking ground.
It really is about to get spicy up in here. We're gonna see Ronnie trying to approach Dean, but the minute he doesn't get his way, he's gonna turn and him and Unique will now have a problem. They're gonna have to deal with Dean because I don't think he'll take too kindly to Ronnie putting hands on him. So here's where we get to the fun theory element of the video, which will lead me on to Ronnie mentoring Kanan, and why we see elements of Ronnie in the older Kanan. Dean has a grandmother who we met in season 1, and someone who we briefly saw in season 2. Now if Ronnie has beef with Dean, I think all bets are off with the kind of guy Ronnie is. He's the kind of guy that will literally end Dean's grandmother with no hesitation, just to hurt Dean because he rejected Ronnie's business proposal. He's that kind of character with a complete disregard for human life. He has zero emotion, apart from when he gets his Honey Nut Cheerios. He's the kind of guy that will just do it because he feels disrespected. He's that guy. And it does sound like someone we do know from OG Power. Back in season 3, we saw Kanan kill an old lady for literally no reason whatsoever. I mean, the only crime she may have committed, if you want to call it a crime, was living in Breeze's old apartment. But this is something you'd imagine Ronnie doing, hence the theory of him potentially doing something very similar to Dean's grandmother, which would also kind of explain where Kanan got this side to his character from. There was a lot of lies and manipulation from the older Kanan, which you can put down to Rock. There was some early mentoring from Marvin. He definitely got his dress sense from his uncle Lou. And you can say he grew to like Tariq, because he saw a lot of similarities from the relationship with their parents and who they also wanted to be at a similar age. But when it comes to his ruthlessness, he definitely had a bit of Ronnie in him. We all saw the stare that he gave him and Famous at the end of episode 3, and so when we're talking about Ronnie's next moves, I would say add Kanan to the list. Now I do feel Ronnie will want to get to Rock, and sometimes to get to the Queen you have to go through the Prince, which again is also another parallel to Power. Kanan used the exact same technique to try and hurt Ghost, so I do believe we are going to see the same from Ronnie, except where Kanan took a liking to Tariq, would Ronnie take a liking to Kanan? I'm not so sure, so let's wait and see if he does. But I think we all know, and I think Ronnie will know, the only way you can hurt someone like Rock is by using Kanan. So we will see him handing a brick to Kanan, which will probably be his first brick in the game, and no doubt, the introduction to Ishmael Snaps Henry will also be through Ronnie. Now I did mention the release prisons earlier on in the video, and this is where I do want to circle back around to that point. We know that 13 have been released so far, with Ronnie Mathis being one of them, but I really wouldn't be surprised if there are a few in this scene, because I do question, where are Ronnie's boys? Where's the crew that he used to run with? This is why there's still so much more we need to learn about his character, but someone who I think we need to be patient with, because in time, the writers will answer all of these questions, which will start in episode 4, maybe with Ronnie confronting Kanan and Snaps' introduction. Now with all of that being said, I think there's one thing you should do if you ever meet Ronnie Mathis: give the man his Honey Nut Cheerios and run.